session 3 of Why Jesus? And the story continues today. God had promised Abram that he would become a great nation. Now Sarah, his wife, did become pregnant, and they had a son, Isaac. And then Isaac had sons, Jacob and Esau, and Jacob had 12 sons. And these 12 sons became the 12 tribes of Israel. They lived in the land of Canaan, which God had promised to Abraham. But a famine arose and they went down to Egypt. Now, God had already prepared the way by sending one of the sons, Joseph, down to Egypt, and by now he had risen to great power. And so as Jacob and the sons went down to live in Egypt, they were given some good land in Goshen, and they were able to live there, where they multiplied and became a great nation. In fact, they became such a large nation that a Pharaoh who knew nothing of the past got afraid of them, and he enslaved them. And they spent 400 years there as slaves in Egypt. Now we know the story of Moses, but this is what God told Moses to say to the people. I am the Lord. I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I'll free you from being slaves for them. I'll redeem you with an outstretched arm and mighty acts of judgment. I'll take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you'll know that I, the Lord, am your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. And I'll bring you to the land that I swore with uplifted hand to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'll give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord. So here we have a large nation grown from Abram and Sarah, a nation that had settled in Egypt and lived there under the Egyptian gods. And although they were slaves, they benefited from good food, from safety from other nations, because Egypt was the most powerful nation at the time. Now they were about to learn the Egyptian gods were nothing. The plagues that we read about, each one related to a specific Egyptian god. And God was showing that these gods were useless. They had no power. And so he took them out from under the yoke of slavery. Egypt, the most powerful nation at that time, and yet God was able to take away their slaves. In the process, he showed his mighty power by the crossing of the Red Sea, providing food and water in the desert. And this time in the desert was a learning time where they learned that life was not necessarily sustained by their physical circumstances or the power of nations, but simply by God. The promise God had given was that he would free them from the yoke of slavery and he would redeem them. Now this isn't saying the same thing in two different ways. They were physically free from Egypt, but God wanted to redeem, to restore them as people living in right relationship with him. He promised to make them his people and to be their God. And this promise is not formalised in a covenant until they reach Mount Sinai. So this is the beginning of God's plan to restore human beings to right relationship with him, but choosing to use human beings as his agent to do so. And that's the mission that you and I still share today.
Call out your name in the darkness and watch as your glory unfolds. For there is no measure or end to the power you hold. Justice and truth are your virtues, with many to ask for our words. No mind contains the splendor of all that you are. Our God has done great things. Our God is greater than all. Our God has done great things. Our God is greater than all. come. You are the author, God, dear complete.